time now for everyone's favorite segment of the week. It is time.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Q&A, MMA fans.
We met a lot of people over the weekend. They say they love On the Nose.
To hear from the man himself,
sometimes they go straight to it.
Helwani.
You know, and I'm like, wow. He's like, you eat the show crust first? Wow, that is amazing.
It's On the Nose.
It's been known to happen.
To answer your questions. Get
Saw
on
Mike
your
Heck there
seats
too.
and on your feet, because here he is, Ariel Helwani.
I mentioned Mike because, oh, look at that. Wow. His voice, of course, is the one who does this intro. Great stuff as always. Thank you very much. Without further ado, we do have breaking news right off the top. Jordan Childs leads us off. Hey, Ariel. Vegas looked like a blast, but we're glad to have you back for everyone's favorite segment of the week. Thank you. 2 quick questions. As a huge Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz fan, I'm really invested in a potential fight between them, as you should be. But after seeing the Chandler interaction, it's really piqued my interest in seeing them scrap, as it would make a whole lot of sense for DP and Chandler at 55. Have you heard any update about a potential Diaz-Poirier fight at 170, or what is next for either if that fight doesn't come to fruition? Also, you shadow boxing with Nate at the sportsbook had me thinking, if you were a fighter, which weight class do you think you would be competing in? Have a great day to you and the whole MMA crew. Wow. 2 very good questions right off the top. No talks of Poirier Chandler. The hope is still Poirier Diaz. Things still moving. Hopefully by, I'll say this, hopefully by mid-September, the fight will have already happened. Now, does it happen August 20th? Does it happen September 10th? You know, TBD, but hopefully by mid-September, which would be September 15th, the fight happens. You feel me? Hopefully by mid-September, the fight happens. I did see the thing that was caught on camera by, I think, Gilbert Burns, but there's no talk at the moment for a DP Chandler fight. At some point, I'd love to see it. As I've been saying for a while now, there's heat between them. There's a story there. At some point, I'd love to see it, but as of right this moment, no talk. So hopefully mid-September, Diaz, Poirier. As for the question about the fighting, that is a good question. I mean, obviously, you don't fight at your walk-around weight. I'm going to say for the longest time, I was like 188. I was 188 for like 15 years. And then in 2005, 6, my then girlfriend, future wife, changed her diet, and I changed it too, and I lost a crap load of weight. Like I probably was weighing like 150, way too much. Then eventually gained it all back. Now I'm at like 200 or so, maybe even a tick lower. I'll be doing some boxing. I don't know if you guys saw the gloves, you know, a little bit of this, a little of that. So I think 185 is probably fair. You know, tall, lanky, little Kevin Holland body, you know, that type of thing. So 85. For the record, not looking to compete or do any of that. You know, Nate just wanted to see them hands, you know? Who am I to deny him of that opportunity? Ryan, question about Volk and him being pound for pound number 1. Kamaru is amazing. However, if his second fight with Colby was fairly close, 248-47s, and Colby isn't on the list at all, shouldn't Volk, along with his strength of schedule, be considered number 1? I know this is MMA math, but that seems necessary in this discussion. Again, main point, Volk beat number 6 on pound for pound, 50-45. Kamaru was 248-47s with Colby the second time around. Now, I don't know if that's... Listen, to me, it's Usman, it's Volk, and by the way, unpopular opinion, Izzy to me is still in that conversation. Izzy should not be docked points in the pound for pound discussion because he lost at 205. In fact, I actually give him points. Do I give him full points because he didn't win? No, because he didn't win. But by going up, by daring to be great, as he put it, I actually give him points for that. It seems like most people are docking him points for that, which I don't necessarily agree with. Actually, I don't agree with, period. So to me, it's, if you want to tell me right now that you have Alex number 1, fine. If you want to tell me right now you have Usman number 1, fine. If you want to tell me right now you have Izzy number 2 and Volk number 3, or Izzy number 2 and Volk 1 and Usman 3, they're all correct answers. Afterwards, you could go with Oliveira, Ngannou, Figueiredo, you could go in a million different directions. Yuri, if we want to go let's just do this real quick, just for fun. Alex Volkanovski. What's your top 3 right now, GC?
Those 3. I just don't know what order to put them in.
You don't have a specific order?
No.
Who's your number 1?
Kamaru. I'll keep Kamaru there. Recency bias ain't going to change it for me.
Yeah. So let's do Kamaru and Volk, because that seems to be who everyone is putting at 1 and 2. And by the way, I love the fact that Volk's finally getting the respect he deserves. Guy's lost once. People dock him for that. He lost back in 2013 at welterweight against a guy named Corey Nelson. Shout out to AK Lee. Wrote a great feature on Corey Nelson. You can go check it out on MMAfighting.com. Hasn't lost since. Has won 22 fights in a row, including all of them in the UFC. If we go side by side right now, and I had the quote unquote hot take, which I don't think is a hot take, that Volk's resume, in my opinion, is better than Khabib's. Now everyone's like, Ariel's such a hater. Not being a hater. I'm just being unbiased. It's okay to say that someone has a better resume. That's not being a hater. Just look at the facts. Compare the opponents. Just go through the opponents one by one. Volk's resume at this point is more extensive, and he has lasted longer than Khabib, especially more title defenses. Cannonier, I'm looking at, Holloway, Colby, Zombie, Masvidal, Ortega, Burns, Holloway, Masvidal, Holloway, Colby, Woodley, Aldo, Mendez, RDA, Elkins, Maya, Emil Meck, Jeremy Kennedy, Shane Young, Sergio Moraes, Sean Strickland versus Mizuta Harat. Okay, I'm giving the nudge a little bit, and I think there's, let me see here. As far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenses. 1, 2, 3, 4 defenses. I'm going Usman first. Again, this is going to upset everyone who says that I have a dominance MMA bias, which is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. I'm still going to put Usman number 1. And I don't know if I'm ready to put Izzy down. Izzy, how many defenses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. He's got 1 more defense. I don't think Izzy should be docked. Izzy Volk, to me, is 2-3. Interchangeable. I don't think Izzy should be docked. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. But those are the 3 kings right now. There's no doubt about it. Why is there this is from Tyler. Why is there so little information about UFC 279 in September? They're figuring it out. Sterling Dillashaw is one of the fights, obviously, that's being talked about as far as big fights are concerned. Potential Diaz, maybe August 20th, TBD. I've heard Atlanta. We talked about this last week, right? Tampa, I haven't really checked in since. We were very busy. But yeah. I mean, what is it? It's 2 months away, right? No, 3 months away. It's 2 months away. 2 months away. I think we'll find out very soon. Next week, 2 weeks. El Cubano. Hola, Ariel. Hola, El Cubano. Hope you and the crew had a great 4th of July weekend. Thank you. It was wonderful. We did the show for all of you. This weekend's main event is the battle of the Rafael/Rafaels with RDA taking on Fiziev. RDA currently ranks 7th in the rankings, and Fiziev is ranked 10th. This is currently the only fight scheduled for any top 10 fighter in the lightweight division. Wow. My question this week is, when do you think we will see fights being announced for this lightweight division? Also, who would the winner of this week's main event most likely face in the division next? Viva Helwani. Tremendous question, as always, from the great El Cubano. Great little nugget there. Only fight right now. All right, so we know that Charles most likely going to fight Islam. Charles Islam. I like to think that Poirier is going to fight Diaz. As of right this second, who the hell knows what's going to change. You got Dariush out there and Chandler's out there. Does Chandler wait for Conor to come back? Possible. Early 2023. Do you try to do Chandler versus Dariush? Don't hate it. Dariush got to fight someone. Maybe you do Gaethje versus Dariush. RDA wins. He's in the mix as well. 100%. You got Gamrot, who I said earlier I would love to see fight Jalen Turner. If Fiziev wins, I'd love to see him fight a Dariush. I'd love to see Fiziev versus Chandler too. That would be a sick fight. So, yeah, a lot has to happen. But we know what's happening at the top. Charles versus Islam is the fight to make. It sounds like they're going to not punish Islam for, faking the funk on that RDA fight back in March, which is fine. I'm okay with it. I do feel bad for Dariush. I mean, there could be a case to be made where you just run it back between those two guys, but then who does Charles fight? And again, as I said on Monday, I don't want to see Volk fight Charles right now. Even though there aren't a ton of sexy options at 45, I like to see dominance. I want to see him stick at 145, continue to win there, successfully defend the title. It's just not a fight that I'm clamoring to see, especially with the title being vacant. If Fiziev wins, I'd love to see him fight Chandler. That would be awesome. But I think they might keep Chandler for Connor. It's all very much up in the air. RDA Connor, too. I mean, that's been talked about forever. David, hey, Ariel, one of the big winners from the International Fight Week card is Jalen Turner. Yes, do you see him fighting the winner of this coming Saturday main event between RDA and Fiziev? No. Too much of a gap there. As I said, Turner versus Gamrot is the one I would do. Bengal the Yeti. Shalom, Ariel. 2 questions this time in respect of the GOAT, Joey Chestnut. What's everyone's favorite non-traditional sport? And number 2, Charles keeps focusing on Connor. Is it only for the money or does he not want to fight Islam? I love the fact that Lewis, he gives me like a document with all the questions. He writes, for context, if needed, Joey Chestnut is a professional competitive eater with a picture of Joey Chestnut and a lot of hot dogs. Lewis, what do you think I am? You don't think I've heard of Joey Chestnut, American hero? I used to work with the MLE guys back in the day. I've hung out with the great Joey Chestnut. We're like practically good friends. But I appreciate that. Can never be too sure. In respect, okay, what's everyone's favorite non-traditional sport? Frank, why don't you go first? I feel like you have an obvious answer.
Non-traditional, huh? I don't know. I can't think of anything. Maybe, I built robots in high school.
Wow.
And we
You
competed.
built robots in high school. Is that a sport, though?
Yeah, we were like on a robotics team.
But is that sport?
I mean, well, you tell me what defines it as a sport. We had to throw a ball into a goal,
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's a sport.
Wow.
All right, I didn't realize. I thought like robotics is like you build robots and whoever.
Well, you
has-
have to they have to compete with other teams around the country.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Around the country, how'd you guys do?
We went to regionals the first year. We did it down in Orlando. It was a lot of fun. There's an organization called First Robotics by Dean Kamen that still exists. So.
By the way, is New York Rick joining us?
No,
Why?
I haven't asked.
He's like slacking me answers right now. He should be able to join. Isn't that like
He can if he wants. Yeah.
the hell? Doesn't he have like a whole fancy setup? The freaking guy is on the local news in Hawaii. You guys see that?
I missed that one.
That was so ridiculous.
By the way, I love Rob DeMello of KHON in Hawaii. And he's like, oh, let's. What did he say? He's like, Eric Jackman of MMA Fighting says Max Holloway's career. I was like, what is going on here? Guy gets a new microphone. All of a sudden, he's on the local news breaking it down.
In Honolulu.
Yes, he's big over there. He's got family over there.
All time.
Oh, he can't join us. I'm not sure if I could say why. He has some work going on in his house. This is what it's like in the burbs. What's your choice, GC?
Yeah, I don't know. What are we talking about non-traditional? Like,
Well, his answer was the challenge is the best sport in the world, but it might be traditional in 2022.
that's New York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone asked like what the best 5 TV shows were of all time, and he said 5 different iterations.
Never
of
seen
the
an
challenge.
episode.
I don't even know what it is.
By the way, when I got to ESPN, the whole crew there, the whole ESPN MMA crew, were all hardcore challenge fans. And I bring along New York Rick, and now all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, are they going to like him? Are they going to give him? And they're all talking about all this crazy challenge stuff. Like, people watch MTV in 2022? I didn't even know it was still a thing.
I thought it was just Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah. What is that show called?
Ridiculousness.
Ridiculousness, yeah.
It takes up like 80% of their airtime.
I did like Robin Big back in the day. Remember that show?
Great show. Rest in peace to
Never
Big.
met him, yeah. Big MMA fan, by the way. I have met him.
Rob.
No.
Big.
Big. Yeah, he used to go to Strikeforce events. Strikeforce was his thing, and he would always
Wow.
be at the Strikeforce events. Big Black, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, can I tell you mine?
Please.
I'm a big fan of birding.
that's a good
Yes,
I'd love to know more.
competitive
I'd love to know more
birding.
about it.
Yeah, big fan. I haven't talked about it a lot, but I'm into the warblers and the wrens and the owls, of course. Big fan of birding.
I like the Tour de France. I feel like that's kind of
I feel like that's pretty
How do
traditional.
you guys feel about
bowling. Is bowling
yeah.
traditional?
I don't think it's too traditional.
What's his name? That guy, PWB or something. The dude who would do
Pete
like
Webb.
Pete Webb. Yeah.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah. All right. There you have it. Charles keeps focusing on Conor. Is it only for the money, or does he not want to fight Islam? Yeah, it's for the money. Of course it's for the money. He'd fight Islam, but like, we're talking about the biggest star in the history of the sport. Anyone would take that fight. Anyone who tells you they wouldn't take that fight is lying. Patrick, favorite segment of the week. 2 quick questions. Ariel, you mentioned on Monday's recap that you did run into RC. How'd that go? Yes, I did. And GC, what was your FOMO level all weekend while 3-Pac was running around rampant in Vegas, hobnobbing it up with the likes of Nathan Diaz? P.S. Ariel, how many times did you hit up Egg Slut? Believe it or not, not once. The line was so ridiculous. For those that don't know, Egg Slut is the best breakfast place in Vegas, but the line is always incredibly long. It's at the Cosmo. This time the line, usually it wraps around the whole thing. You got to wait there at least 45 minutes, but I got to tell you, it's worth it. This time it not only wrapped around, but it was like they had to break it up and then make the back end of the line somewhere else in the hotel because it was that damn long and I just could not justify it. However, it's hard to find, like there's so many people there, hard to find a place to eat. But old TST and I stumbled upon a spot all the way up top at the Cosmo on the roof next to the pool. The only issue was we had to sit outside, and I think it was like 120 degrees. I was wearing jeans and a long sleeve button down shirt, but I just rolled them up and we had a blast. One of those places where they made the guacamole for us on the spot. It was tremendous. Now, RC. Oh, wait, GC, your FOMO level. You have made the promise that next year, IFW, you are there.
100%.
Hell or high water.
10, my FOMO was 11, and it just slowly ramped up as the weekend went on. I was jealous that I wasn't going in the first place, and then all I'm hearing are these stories, and I met this person, I met that person. Oh, we were hanging out with Nate Diaz. Oh, we're going to the card. We're doing this. Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
I will be there. I'll be there next year.
First, we're hanging out with Anthony Smith, then I'm going to DC's after party there. I mean,
you got to meet Troy's dad.
Met DC's sister and brother, hanging out with them. Of course, for those that missed Monday's show, got the big shout out. So, it was a lot. There was a lot that happened. You would have been at the UFC X waiting in line to meet, Beneil Dariush, get a picture with him.
Yep. Sign some gloves.
Yeah,
fist pose, great pose.
Have you ever had Egg Slut? I know there's one in LA as well. Have you ever been to LA? Have you ever been to the West Coast of the United States?
Yes. Northern California.
Really? Why?
That's where my brother lives.
Oh.
Yeah. Now
I didn't know that.
Dirty laundry.
Why, is that bad?
I don't know.
I'm telling you, but I'm like literally reciting my 10-year-old kid's letter from camp. Which part of NorCal?
San Francisco.
Why is that dirty laundry, by the way? Oh, is it?
Yeah, I've been there a bunch of times.
You guys are very secret. I just lay it all out there. Whatever you want to know, I'm an open book. San Francisco is beautiful, by the way.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Great place, great training out there. You can hang with the scrap pack. As for the other question, yes, I did run into RC. Not only did I run into him, I ran into him twice. How about that? First time was Friday. I was on the phone and I was walking in the casino area, and he was there, weirdly enough, with Anthony Smith. I guess the ESPN crew, they hang out. I like it. And we were walking. We were like 2 ships in the night, but we stopped. He stopped me. He's like, "Hey, man, big fan, this, that." I'm like, I'm a big fan too. We're just, this is all, it's all content, bro. It's all content. He's like, yeah, cool. But I was on the phone, so I had to keep it moving. Next day, at the Vidara Hotel lobby, see him again. This time, he's on the phone. Guess what? Guess what happened? He hung up, which I think is like I think that's a 10-8 for me, because on Friday I didn't hang up. He did hang up. So I don't know. And then we started talking. Hey, man, I don't want, he's like, it's all good. No hate. I don't have hate for the guy. He didn't do anything. He's trying to do his thing, and he's a freaking Super Bowl winning cornerback. Who the hell am I? And I don't think anyone. The one thing I will say, like, I don't like when any fan base is exclusive. Oh, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? What do you know about this? And MMA fans, combat sports fans, even boxing fans too, they could be very exclusive. Like, oh, what do you know about this? What do you know about that? What do you know about this? What do you know about that? Chill out, all right? Not everyone has to have a PhD just to talk about something. So, I say be kind, lay off. Everyone should be friends. And it was a nice conversation. And then he started asking me for my picks. And I was like, listen, man, I don't make picks. These are like stone cold locks. I can't just be giving them out for free. Sign up for my Patreon. And it was nice. He did say, like, I wasn't sure if you were messing around, real casual, this and that. I had to ask DC, I don't play that way. And I was like, guess what? I don't play that way either, So, it's just like one of them things. But overall, it was very nice. It was very pleasant. And I feel like we're in a good spot. Saw a lot of former colleagues. It was nice. Carmelo, do you know how many fights Max Holloway has left? I'm not trying to pull it's time for Bellator, but with Max Holloway's position now, I don't feel like there's much for him to do. Disagree. Now, in Bellator, they have Hawaii on lock. Wouldn't that be incredible to see Max fight in Hawaii regularly in their 45 division? Yeah, I mean, listen, he deserves to fight in Hawaii. He deserved to fight there 8 years ago. But I would not, number one, I wouldn't advocate for him to go there because there's way bigger fight, like way massive fights for him. There's still the Conor fight out there. I mean, he's still a very big name. He lost to the number 2 or number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, so nothing to sneeze at. He's still young, 30, and I still feel like there's opportunities for him at 55 and 45. So yeah, the Hawaii thing is a bummer, but come on, he ain't leaving. Lewis, my man, good afternoon, Ariel. I offer you the hot tag for your 2 cents on the crumbling of Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. No one's asking about it, and I get the sense you have something to say about it, so the floor is yours. What are the ramifications for Tommy Fury as a prize fighter going forward? As someone that is working the event, is it now less attractive for you as an opportunity? If Tommy Fury fumbled the bag prior to the first scheduled fight, this set of events is a disaster. Much love, and I wish you a happy birthday week, Lewis. What a mensch that Lewis is. So, the Tommy Fury fight is done, and I think Jake Paul announced that today. And what happened was they were supposed to fight back in December. Fury gets injured. They call upon Tyron Woodley, and Tyron saves the day as far as keeping the event intact. But let's be honest, it wasn't the fight that people wanted to see, and it definitely didn't perform like I think the Fury-Paul fight would have performed back in December. Then they wait some time, and now they book it for Madison Square Garden, of all places, in August, which I thought was a brilliant move because there's a big, British fan base here. Obviously, Jake is very popular. He's at the airport last week. When was it? The presser was supposed to be Wednesday, so he's at the airport on Tuesday. And he gets stopped. Now, no one has actually come out and said why he got stopped, but multiple reports out there suggest that it's because of his family's connection to Daniel Kinahan. Daniel Kinahan is a man who is wanted by the American government, and there's pretty much been, not I'm looking for a word here, not a bounty, but they're putting up a sum of money for any information on him, and anyone who has business ties to him has had trouble coming into the States. And Tommy, who said that he had been in the States 4 weeks prior, got in just fine. He was in California. This time got stopped. Now, a little different when you're announcing it to the world. They know you're coming. They can find out when your flight is, all this stuff. So it's a little different and leads me to wonder what this will mean for the likes of Tyson Fury, for the likes of Darren Till, and all the other fighters who have openly talked about their relationship with the Kinahan family. Now, that was a week ago. Since then, I was told, basically, they said they needed him to come to the embassy to basically do an interview about it. And Frank Warren, Tommy's promoter, told BT Sport yesterday that he had not been to the embassy. Now, tricky spot if in fact this is the story, because if they want you to go to the embassy to talk about your family's business dealings with someone who is wanted, then you're in a tough spot. Because what are you supposed to do? Of course, you want to take the fight, but you also, don't want to give up too much information. It's I feel for the guy. I really do, because by all accounts, he was never promoted or consulted, by Kinahan, but, family, who knows? He didn't like post for pictures or things like that I know of, but, it's still his brother, his father, etc. So tough spot. And eventually I think they realized that he wouldn't be able to come on. And now I see some people saying like, oh, Jake should have gone to the UK. Now, I would have loved to see it, but come on, guys, this ain't on Jake. I know it's very easy to rag on him. I know it's very easy to, how is this on Jake? They got MSG booked and he was ready to go to the press conference. He was ready to have the fight. This is now twice that the fight has fallen through for completely different reasons. But if I was Jake Paul and his team, at this point, you move on. The fight isn't big enough. And the matchup isn't big enough. The history isn't long enough to keep sticking. This isn't Khabib Tony, contrary to what people thought I was saying last week. But now it's fallen through twice, and you got to move on. And so there are reports out there that they are moving on. Now, at the time last week, I was hearing that the date was in jeopardy. You can't just slide in some random schmo. But now it sounds like the date is back on, and it sounds like we might get an announcement as soon as tomorrow. And it sounds like it's going to be a legit boxer. You cannot, if it is who I am hearing it is, and there are some reports out there that are accurate, golly, what are they going to say now about the guy? I can guarantee, it's crazy to me. The guy is 5-0. The first 2 fights were dismissed. Fine. All of your favorite boxers, every single one of them, we're not fighting the likes of Tyron Woodley. I don't care if Tyron Woodley has never had a pro boxing bout. We're not fighting the likes of Tyron Woodley experience-wise and toughness-wise, credibility-wise, resume-wise, in any type of fighting genre at 4-0, at 3-0. It wasn't happening. So again, you can discredit all you want, and I would be saying this, working on the broadcast, not working on the broadcast, and you could try to discredit my take on this. It's the truth. And they ain't at 5-0 fighting guys who are 12-1. 12-1 with this kind of resume. Now, is it Canelo, which it seems like people will only be happy if he fights Canelo or if he fights, someone of that stature. No, of course not. But he's this is a legit boxer. This is a legit, 100% pro boxer, around the same age. If he wins this one, it's going to get really interesting. Now, does it have the juice of him versus MMA? Does it have the juice for him versus the Furies? No, but I'm just as interested. The fighter that they're talking about is a better boxer than Tommy Fury. Is a tougher test. So it's unfortunate for Tommy Fury, but if I were them, I would move on, and maybe they meet sometime down the road. But I wouldn't revisit this one. You can't keep doing it. You can't. You got to move on. But it sounds like August 6th is still on. And you know what that means, Frank? Hit my music.
Wait,
breaking news. Your boy's still involved, contrary to what all the haters want. Ew, he doesn't know anything about boxing. Ew, he doesn't deserve to be there. Ew, what does he know about the sweet science? Yeah. I've forgotten more about the sweet science than any of you jabrones out there will ever know. How about that? Okay? Check yourself before you wreck yourself. McKinney, what's good, Ariel? Hope you had a great weekend in Sin City. I'm flying from Dublin tomorrow to the States for my holidays, and I'm currently in the process of packing as I listen to the show. Which is interesting because it says that he sent this 4 hours ago, and unless he was predicting that he'd be packing right now. If he is packing right now, hello, don't forget your undies. My question today is this: what's the worst experience you've ever faced, either while at an airport or while on a flight? Wow. All the best from Derry, Ireland. Well, when I was younger, I've had some bad ones. When I was younger, we were on a flight that got really, really rocky. And I remember saying that I would give Like I was probably in 4th grade. I was so shaken up by it. At first I said I would never fly again, which obviously didn't hold true. And then I said I was going to give to charity every day, like $1, $2. And I kept that up for a while. But you're a young kid, you're very nervous. I remember one time my dad getting into a big fight with someone at the airport, and then we had to actually like sit next to them on the plane, and that was super awkward. I remember one time, I mean, there's been so many trips that now they're all a blur. But one time I was flying back from OKC after doing hoop streams, Thunder Warriors, get to the airport, sit on the plane. Then they tell us, it was on a Sunday morning. We get to the airport. Now, the OKC airport, I feel like GC has been there. Have you been to OKC?
No.
It's one of the worst airports. I mean, it's like, what is this? And there's no direct flights to anywhere that you want to go. And so I'm sitting there and they're like, oh yeah, everyone has to get off. The plane is broken. I'm like, well, how am I going to get to Dallas and then get to New York? I have to do my show on Monday. Luckily, I found a flight. I got on it at the last minute, made it. I had to go to LaGuardia. It was like a whole mess of a situation, but it was very stressful because, I have a show to do and a streak and I can't miss it. That was a bad one. I know I'm not really telling it and also my flight got canceled on the way there and I had to sleep in Detroit. That was a really annoying trip. All to do like 20 minutes, but it was cool. I got to be on the court. That was fun. Saw Steph Curry, KD in the back. How about that KD asking for a trade? Unbelievable. Going to the Raptors, incredible. Hugo, hey Ariel, do you know the reason why Figgy split from his manager? Cheers and go Volk, pound for pound best. Oh, is the show over? No, we're still here. Figgy, I had been hearing that this was brewing for quite some time. And I'd been hearing that they were kind of drifting apart. It's a shame because they were a great duo. And I think that Walid, did wonders for him in terms of building his persona and selling himself and promoting himself. And I just think that over time they started to drift apart and have differences. I think Figgy likes to rock the boat. Walid doesn't, especially with the UFC. So he's now with Vayner. And I know he kind of said it was like a Faber thing, but he's also with Lloyd Pearson, who's manager to so many fighters, Stipe and Ferguson and Weidman, Anthony Smith and Aljamain and Merab. The list goes on and on. So he's in a good spot. Vayner, of course, owned by Gary Vaynerchuk, his brother AJ. Abe, hey Ariel, great to hear how much you enjoyed the 276 fight week. It was tremendous. Still buzzing, dare I say. Quick one from me today. Fighters always say they don't want to be known for their chins or for being able to take damage. But last weekend, we saw two guys who I believe have two of the toughest chins in the game, Holloway and Barberena. Past or present, who would you consider to have the top 5 best/toughest chins in UFC? Much love, your boy Abe. God, I hate these questions only because I feel like I'm going to forget. I mean, Don Fry. Tough chin. I mean, Diaz, both Diaz brothers. Just looking here. Izzy. But I'm looking at the current guys. Anderson for the longest time. It's hard. How anyone have it? I mean, it's hard to just remember these off the top of my head. When you ask like these sort of subjective list questions. Francis. I think for the longest time people would have said DC, Derek Lewis, John Jones doesn't get enough credit for his chin. Probably up there. Fought a bunch of killers. Holloway definitely. Josh, hey Ariel and co. I'm having some issues with my girlfriend and her lack of interest with MMA. Each Sunday in Australia, I sit down and watch the UFC, much to her displeasure. She is really fed up. She even calls the UFC the soundtrack to her hangover, as Bruce Buffer's ring announcements rattle through our house on a Sunday morning. By the way, how much fun is it to watch UFC on a Sunday morning? I need some help on how to keep my partner on side, as I think I'm walking a fine line here. Wow, it's that bad? She has threatened to disconnect the TV cable on multiple occasions. Holy smokes, man. I mean, you got to, okay, well, let me keep going here. I'm hoping to get GC, New York Rick, and Frank's takes on whether they are faced with the same issues and whether they have any handy tips for me. Peace, Josh. Now, I feel like Frank doesn't deal with this type of issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. I don't think that you're, watching UFC incessantly. I do feel like there's a way to combat this. I mean, I feel like you can make a deal with your girlfriend, like, hey, if the fights are on Sunday, like I'll do whatever you want on Saturday or Friday. Like you gotta figure it out. When I was living with my wife in a tiny apartment in New York, she would get annoyed that I would watch pro wrestling, and I will admit is part of the reason why I stopped watching, just because I didn't want to do. But I was also kind of getting bored of it as well, and more into MMA. The issue with MMA is it's on every week and it's like 7 hours long. If you're watching the prelims, it's a lot of time to invest on a Sunday. It might actually be better for Josh if the fights were on in the evening, because then he could just stay up and watch them. So I feel for you. It's a different thing that we're dealing with here. But I feel like if she loves you, like she's gonna respect the fact that you love this. Like you got to find a common ground. You make a deal. I'll do whatever you want on Saturday night. I'll do whatever you want on Saturday during the day, but just give me this 7-hour block of time. Like I need, or 6 hour, or maybe, and by the way, maybe you compromise. Maybe you don't watch every card from top to bottom. Maybe you just watch a main card here, a prelim there. There's got to be compromise. That's what the relationship is all about. Let's see what New York Rick says. He says, my wife doesn't care at all, and it's how I make my money. Well, that's fair, different than this guy. For this guy, if she can't support what you love, find somebody who does. Cut her ass loose. Golly, New York Rick. Cut her ass loose. That's a direct quote. I mean, I was trying to be a little nicer about it. But yeah, if she doesn't support what you like, I mean, this is going to become a problem. What do you think, GC? Is this you don't live with your girlfriend, right? So it's not really an issue for you.
No. But she also likes watching the UFC cards.
That's true.
But one of the things that she does like, I don't know if this kid's bets, she gets like invested because
you're
of
betting.
The bets that I have.
She's not betting, but she's just riding with you.
She's not betting. No, yeah, she's just riding with me. So like,
that's great.
She has something to cheer for.
By the way, your girlfriend, big Grudge fan. Grudge Training Center? No?
I don't know what that is.
You have no idea what I'm talking about?
No.
Or are you no-selling me right now? Did I divulge too much?
No, I really have no idea what you're talking about. Grudge
Trevor Whitman,
Training Center?
Yeah, Trevor Whitman.
Oh, Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
H.E. Rose.
I actually didn't know that place was called Grudge.
TMI.
No different names for that?
Maybe it's not called Grudge anymore.
I swear it's called something else now.
I might have dated myself.
Yeah, I think you just dated yourself. They did like a whole
thing on
countdown thing there.
And they didn't call it Grudge?
It's definitely not called Grudge. It's like clean and white and like
yeah.
It's
why can't it be clean and white? It is very nice though. By the way, what about Sanford changing their name to Killcliff MMA? What the hell is that?
Wait, that's really a real thing?
Yes. And what is Killcliff?
I think it is still Grudge.
Oh,
Killcliff's the drink.
Oh, they're like a sponsor, I guess.
Yes.
I just don't like the word kill in the gym name.
Killcliff, yeah, it's an energy drink. To
is this
kill
like
ya.
Happy Dad or something?
No, it's not alcoholic. Happy Dad's alcoholic. Yeah, Grudge.
Yeah,
I just always thought Trevor Whitman.
I accept your apology.
Yeah, I am sorry. Yeah, we went deep there. Colorado.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so you can't relate with this, but I mean, I think the general sentiment is, if you guys are a good match, she's got to respect. I'm sure there's things that she likes that you don't like. I'm talking to this guy, but in any relationship, right? My wife likes to, design jewelry. I don't like it, but I don't give her a hard time about it.
I do have to pop back in and rescind my apology. Grudge closed down in November 2016. It is ONX Sports now.
Oh, that's like his thing.
Yeah.
But it's same venue? Same location?
I think so, yeah.
Tomato. I'm just an OG. I don't like to, it'll always be Sanford to me. It'll always be Shea to me.
Yeah, the Sanford thing's going to throw me off.
Killcliff? What is this? By the way, you know what's crazy about that video of Nate slapping the guy? The reporter, quote unquote?
Yeah, what about it?
You saw this clip, right?
Yes.
I guess the Nelk boys are getting into MMA reporting. I'm sure Dana has nothing to do with that. Hey, I'm going to let you go backstage. It's cool. 18-year-old kids love it. Anyway, it's smart. that young man who was, I guess, smacked. I don't know what you want to call it. Someone asked me if he could email me last week for some advice. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And so he, asked me some questions, and then I responded. And then like 2 days later, I see him getting smacked by Nate Diaz. Now, I don't really know what was going on. I guess he or those guys, Full Send, whatever, they tweeted some stuff about Maximov, I heard, Nick Maximov. Here's the thing about Nathan Diaz and the Diaz brothers. You may not think it. They see everything. They read everything. They know about everything. In fact, as I said on Monday, Diaz told me that he used to watch the MMA beat all the time. Like, the guy is on the ball. So, you talk some shit, it's going to come back to haunt you. Like the great Jamie Vardy once said, chat shit, get banged, I wouldn't know anything about that because I'm out here hobnobbing it up with him. But I'm told this is what happens. Still my boy. Hey, Ariel. Weidman told the Shmo. By the way, Mazel Tov to Chris Weidman. 9 years ago today, he knocked out Anderson Silva. How about that? July 6, 2013. July 6th, a great date in MMA history. It was also the date of the International Fight Week event. Probably my second favorite before this weekend, because I got to do some Summer League stuff that weekend, but that was the one where Masvidal knocked out Ben Askren. Anyway, actually, no, I would probably rank him this weekend's 2015 Conor Mendez. The Weidman Silva one was crazy too. Anyway, they're all great. Weidman told Schmo he'd like to return late fall, early winter. With Uriah having just fought on Saturday, it seems like the stars could align for Uriah being available too. Would you do the full circle moment and have Uriah be the guy for Weidman's return? Or would you rather put Weidman in there against someone else? Oof, I feel like you're bringing back some bad memories there. Let's have him come back healthy, successful, and then maybe you go down that path. How about that? Don't hate it. Just don't love it. Nathan, what's up, Ariel? I'd like to thank you for your boxing coverage and encouraging me to follow the sport. How about that? Since your work on Showtime for the Tank Davis versus Pitbull Cruz fight, I've been hooked. How about that? Do you think the Spence Crawford fight gets made? And if so, who do you and GC back? I hope it gets made. Rosie Perez told me she thinks it's getting it made. Although then I heard from someone else, Lou DiBella, who told me it wasn't a done deal. If it does happen, I back Crawford. What about you, GC?
Yeah, I'd probably bet Crawford.
Now, on this great website that we like to visit, Pro Boxing Odds, right now they have Crawford listed as a minus 126 and Spence as a minus 102. In that case, who's the favorite? Spence?
No. You said Crawford minus 126?
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird odds to be minus 126 and not getting plus money back, but...
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Hello. I'm interested in your green room situation for in-studio guests. Any cool photos on the wall, snacks, TV showing the live feed, or is it just all, willy-nilly and guests just sitting in some chair 10 feet off camera waiting to go on? Why don't you paint the picture for us? GC, Frank, Corporate Alex, anyone want to tell the people about the green room sitch?
Yeah. It's not even close to 10 feet. It's actually like a half-mile walk across the entire building to go get the guests. But it's a nice room, glass windows, well lit. It's like intimate lighting in there. It's not just like a harsh lighting. TV, obviously, live streaming the show.
They can get a live feed when the show is on. They can watch it back there.
There's no can. It's running. They don't have an option of whether or not they want to watch it.
Oh, okay.
They're watching it, yeah. Snacks, drinks, seltzers, refreshments.
A lot of great snacks here.
Yeah, great snacks. Yeah, I think the ambiance is nice for them.
I think so, too. I think we treat the guests very well. In fact, we have an in-studio guest on Monday. Should we say who it is, or should we keep it as a surprise?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like you keep the surprise.
All right. Big one, non-MMA, but one who has a history with the program on Monday's program here in studio. How about that? Levi, longtime listener, first-time asker, made an account just for this. Welcome. Firstly, thanks for the entertainment every single week. The show really helps drag me through those tough work days. My question pertains to last weekend's fights, particularly the last two fights of the night. To me, upon live watching, I found both of the fights pretty similar. They were both entertaining enough stand-up battles that were competitive but had a clear victor. Correct. And it was quite nice to not have any judging controversy, I might add. Yet, common sentiment seems to be otherwise. Volkanovski is being praised for his performance while Adesanya is being ridiculed. Ridiculed, stretch, but I get it. Criticized. All that to say, what is the difference? Was it just the expectations of each fight? Maybe. That Adesanya was expected to dominate his lesser opponent while the Holloway Volk fight was expected to be competitive, perhaps. Or is Adesanya being judged unfairly by the masses? I do think there's a little bit of that. I do think people thought that Izzy would roll through Cannonier and expected more out of him. But I will say this. I think part of the reason why Volk isn't being criticized as much as Adesanya, which, by the way, neither of them should be. It's a freaking fist fight with a lot at stake, and we're not playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots here, is because of what I said earlier. Holloway kept coming. Holloway kept going. Holloway pushed the pace. Holloway was bloodied. Holloway was cut up. I don't think we got that type of energy from Cannonier, and as a result of that, Izzy is being blamed because he's the star, he's the face, he's the champion, he's the headliner, and people just want an exciting fight. But in reality, it takes two to tango. So I'm not in it to actually criticize anyone in this case. They were what they were. Not every fight is going to be, the greatest fight of all time. But I do think the reason why the co-main is viewed in a better light than the main is because of the opponent, which is, a little funny, right? Holloway kept coming. Holloway's beloved. I think the win over Holloway means more to the masses, 100%. But in the main, Cannonier didn't. And I just want to reiterate what I said at the top. Like, I get it. You're going to be defensive, but Izzy himself said it was an off night. I just don't love the thing of like, he said what he said about the media and I could do what you do. And yeah, he can have his YouTube channel and he could be way more successful than all of us. And he's the bigger star. Here's the draw 100%. And he could take that route if he wants. I'd love for him not to go down that path, but he's totally entitled. And I have an infinite amount of respect for him. And he can really do what he wants. And he's given us a lot of time. He's been very accessible throughout his career. Although I did predict, as with everyone, they're very accessible and then they're not. That just happens when you're out there and doing so much media. There'll come a time where Ian Gary isn't so excited to come on. I can assure you of that. That being said, I just don't love when you criticize the fans who are ultimately paying the tickets and the pay-per-views because you make a lot of money off that. Like, they have clauses in their contracts based off of pay-per-view buys. So there's a fine line there. Now, the obnoxious idiot asshole ones who are just booing for the sake of booing after like 15 seconds into a fight, yeah, of course, they suck. But there's a lot of people who love Izzy, and, I think one great fight coming up against Alex Pereira changes everything. Let's not forget, there was a time, Anderson is beloved now. There was a time where people hated Anderson. How dare you, Anderson? Tell us latest. How dare you, Damon Mai? You're boring, Patrick Cote. Everyone, it wasn't as aggressive, but there was a time where people were getting annoyed of GSP. So this happens to everyone at the very, very top of the game. There isn't a single champion who's able to sustain dominance and excellence without being criticized, because part of that staying at the top movement is being smart. In this game with 4-ounce gloves, you get knocked out in a flash, you go back down. Who knows if you get another title shot? You got to be smart. Dat Dude Drew. Ariel, Canadian fan here from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. Are you really buying that Dana White was on vacation for IFW? I've tried to accept that, but I just can't. This paired with his son's birthday party in Singapore for 275, it feels like there's more than meets the eye here. I've always thought that for the UFC to ascend to new heights as a sport, they need a more professional, quote-unquote, commissioner like a Silver Goodell. He is not a commissioner. He's an owner. You got to compare him to Daniel Snyder, James Dolan, Jerry Jones, those types of people. Mark Cuban. Is he getting phased out, or is he truly throwing 85 these days? Listen, I've been saying it. I don't think he's getting phased out. I just think, the fire isn't there, as I've been saying for a long time, that people think that I'm being, critical or unfair or a hater. No, he won the race. He made his money. And, there was a time, I remember the first event that Dana White ever missed as UFC president. I remember what event it was. We were in Fairfax, Virginia, It was Dustin Poirier versus Korean Zombie. It was May of 2012, and he missed it because he had Meniere's disease, and he was sick. Like, I remember Kevin Ioli wrote a whole article about it. We talked about it on the Fuel broadcast. It was a really big deal that he was missing a show. One single show was the first time. That was 2012. At that point, he had been president for 12 years, had not missed a show. Now, they weren't always doing 43 or so events, but still, it was a massive deal. Now, he's there, he's not there, who knows? 2 pay-per-views in a row. I don't know if that's ever happened. And the first one, all right, the one from last month, you say, like, son's 21st birthday, of course. He's a father, it makes total sense. Second one here, this one's a weird one to me. I got to say, this one is a little bit suspect. It's International Fight Week. It's one of the biggest weekends of the year. Hall of Fame, UFC Expo, a lot going into it. They're back to normal, first time in 3 years, 2 title fights, Khabib inducted, DC inducted, celebs galore, up the wazoo, and he's on vacation? Now, I had heard that he really wanted it to be next week, meaning this week, because July 4th weekend, on vacation with his family, whatever, I believe back in his hometown, whatever, is a big deal. Makes sense, but like, does this vibe with, like, come on, this is not, something's not adding up here. Also, private plane, you could leave the event 10 o'clock Saturday, you're in Maine by 2, 3, and you get your July 4th. July 4th was on a Monday. So I don't know. Seems strange to me. Seems strange. When I heard about it, I was like, there's no way he's not going to be there. No way. I mean, that is quite literally the job of the promoter. Stand on the dais, do the face-offs, answer questions, sell, promote. Like, that is the job. Now, there could be more. It could be, health, personal. We hope not. None of that. But if it's truly just on vacation, I mean, something's wrong in the state of Denmark here. We shall see. Dason, happy Wednesday, Ariel. Hope you are having a great day. I'll keep it short for you. If you could take your favorite part of the MMA world and transfer it to pro wrestling, what would it be and vice versa? Obviously, the promos and selling yourself has become a big thing in the world of MMA and in the worked shoot fight, and the worked shoot fight in wrestling has become more popular. What do you think both sides could take from each other to make their business better? I would say if pro wrestling is able to take the unpredictability of MMA, that would be great. In other words, you watch the fights because, like, we don't know who's going to win, RDA or Fiziev, right? We don't know who's going to win, Holloway or Volk. That's why we love that fight so much, because it's unpredictable. Very, very rarely, like, you could say this is my lock, you could say this, but you ultimately don't know. The thing that kind of, and I was talking to someone about this, I was talking to the great Brian Dipperstein about this of Cheap Heat fame, if I can throw out a cheap plug. It's surprising to me that you can be as big of a pro wrestling fan as an MMA fan. If you appreciate MMA and if you're a diehard fan of MMA, the best part of MMA, in my opinion, is the unpredictability. And the worst part of pro wrestling is the predictability. Meaning, for the last 2 years, everyone knew that there was no chance that Roman Reigns was going to lose. And so, like, what's the point? Like, why are we watching this? If you know how it's going to play out, what's the point? So that's why what happened on Saturday with Liv Morgan winning Money in the Bank and then cashing in is fun because it was unpredictable. I think a lot of people thought she would win, but didn't think she would cash in that night. So now it makes it unpredictable. It makes it fun. It makes it must-see TV. So I would love to take the unpredictability of MMA and bring it to pro wrestling. What made one of the greatest moments in wrestling history stand out? 1, 2, 3 kid beating Razor Ramon. It was unpredictable. No one thought in a million years that a skinny kid would beat a legend like Razor Ramon. There aren't a lot of upsets, if you will, in pro wrestling. And what are some of the greatest moments in MMA history? The big upsets. Dillashaw Barao, Weidman Silva, Holm Rousey, that type of stuff. Sarah GSP, upsets. That's what people love. Being surprised, being shocked. There isn't enough of that. It's way, 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 way too predictable. As far as what I would take in pro wrestling and bring it to MMA, it's just like the pageantry, right? I mean, look at the walkout on Saturday. Look at what Izzy did and how it's being talked about. And again, kudos to the UFC for leaning in. The lights, the camera angles, the smoke, all that stuff made it so much better. It was whack that he walked out with the Venom gear. I mean, imagine if he was able to wear the trench coat. Totally whack. But they got to do what they got to do. If they can, and why does Izzy, I think part of the reason why he's so popular is because he's allowed to go out and dance and do different type of stuff. If everyone was allowed to be themselves, dress like themselves, I can assure you they would have more stars on their hands. That's what people want. Jessica Rose Clark walking out to Sexy Boy. At least people remember it. At least people remember that. People want characters, fighters that they could be emotionally attached to. Great entrance songs, unique music, unique looks, unique gear, unique shorts, all that stuff. Haircuts. Jalen Turner, oh, he's got a thing. Now we remember him. He's the guy with the spider web in his hair. Being unique is half the battle in the fight game and prize fighting. And that's why the uniform stuff drives me insane. Imagine Fiziev coming out with some badass outfit. At least we now are connecting to the guy. That's why, like when Arjun Buller wanted to come out with a turban and they said, no, I thought it was crazy. You've got billions of people out there who look just like this guy, look just like him. Hundreds of millions of people look just like him. And you're going to try to take that away from him? This is what makes a star, being connected. Oh, that's me on TV. I can recognize that guy. I am now emotionally invested in this guy's story and journey and fights. That's what you want. Vaughn, now then, Ariel, following on from your video with Nate, it was great to see he isn't as intimidating all the time as fans and media like to make out. That being said, which fighters you say you have been most surprised by, both negatively and positively, when it comes to both availability to interview, but more importantly, how they have made you feel when you have met them? I also notice Rick's picks is no longer. Is this a permanent thing? I prefer segments when you, Rick, and GC all chew the fat. Great dynamic. Well, then it's good. Yes. It kind of evolved into that, and I prefer that as well. It flows nicely, and I like the visual of us chewing the fat. All the best, Vaughn, the Dream Chaser, and Eyebrow Raiser. There's definitely been guys who initially, like, we didn't really hit it off. And now, like, I remember Hector Lombard was really mad at me back in the day. Now we're cool. I mean, even the Diaz brothers. I remember when Casey did his video where he shadowed them prior to their war event in Stockton, and we put it out, and it was a tremendous piece, and it's still up. And they weren't too happy about it. And I remember waking up to a text from Nate. He wasn't too happy about it. And now look at us, hobnobbing it up. So relationships evolve. There were some relationships I was really close with. Donald Cerrone, I'm not really close with them anymore due to a crazy misunderstanding where I was on Ariel and the Bad Guy, and I was telling him after his win in Brooklyn over Alex Hernandez, like, he needs to go out. He was saying, like, oh, Connor, I'd love to fight you. It would be an honor. And I was like, nah, man, you're Donald Cerrone. You're the winningest fighter in UFC history. You go out there and you tell Conor McGregor that there's only one dog in this yard and that you'll whoop his ass. Like, sell us on the fight. Don't just make it your honor to fight the guy. And he thought that was disrespectful. And then the next time I saw him in Chicago 6 months later, I went right up to him and tried to clear the air, and he wanted none of it. Askren didn't like me, and then we cleared the air. Tito didn't. Well, Tito liked me, then he didn't like me. Now I think he likes me. But in the end, there's really not a lot of guys who I think don't like me, which is a nice little thing. Even all the Ali guys, I would say 99.9% of them, including Khabib, like me. I know they do. I know they all like me, and I know they all miss me dearly, and I know they wish they could come on and talk to me. I know it because they tell me secretly. Steven, hey, Ariel. Glad to hear you enjoyed Las Vegas. Wanted your opinion on how I find it weird that fighters always raise their hands and celebrate after the fight is done to try and win over the judges for their scorecards, from my understanding. But judges are scoring by round, so why aren't fighters raising their hands and doing the same thing after each round? Great point. That's a fantastic point, Steven. Yes, it's not like you could go back and change your score. Maybe they're just trying to sell them on the last round, but really they should be doing it after every round. You're right. Also, I am assuming that you lose out on some fighters to interview because of the timing of your live show. Do you ever think about doing 1 or 2 podcasts a month of just interviews with people that you wanted to interview, but the timing didn't work out? Yeah, sure. Like, we would have had Volk on this week, but he was traveling Tuesday. If we had a Monday show, we would have had him. It happens all the time, but we do enough. And, you could just do it the following week, so it's not that big a deal. P.S. New York Rick, you're a champ. Wow, look at this. Keep coming at Ariel and challenging him. Amazing conversations to listen to. Wow. Okay, see, this is what we do. I put out the good and the bad. A lot of New York Rick love, by the way, on the nose segment. I saw a lot of questions, a lot of comments about New York Rick, so I don't think you should feel too down. Ha'af shel Helwani, which means the nose of Helwani in Hebrew. Hi, Ariel. What is your favorite Seinfeld episode of all time? Wow, that's a tough one. There's a lot of them. I'll tell you the first one that came to mind. The calzone episode I loved. The bet I loved. The shrinkage one was great. The reservation one was great. I didn't hate the last episode as much as many others. Did I love it? No, it was a little weird with the arrest and the trial and all that, but it wasn't bad. In fact, I was referencing the last episode a lot when I was back home in Montreal because all these old characters from my, teenage years in Montreal came back, and I was saying that it was like the last episode of Seinfeld where all these old characters came back. But yeah, greatest sitcom of all time, no doubt about it. Also, what are your favorite podcasts to listen to? I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot there. I'll tell you what's on the old Spotify right now. I love Cheap Heat. Love Cheap Heat. I try to listen to it from start to finish. I love the Bill Simmons podcast. Ryan Russillo, fan of his as well. Smartless, I was going through a period of listening to it a lot. Not so much lately, but I think it's very good. What else we got here? This is what I'm listening to lately. Book of Wrestling, Ringer F1 Show, Two Writers Slinging Yang, Wrestling with Freddie, Post Wrestling, my guys, Pollock and Wei Ting. Ariel Helwani Show, tremendous. What else we got? I like the Fan Morning Show, Blue Jays Talk, Knicks Fan TV. I'm a big fan of that. Hoop Collective, Sedano Show, Renee Paquette's show. What is that called? The Sessions, Lebitard, of course, New York, South Beach Sessions, Ringer NBA Show, Press Box, Old Man and the Three, No Bets Barred, Between the Links, SI Media Podcast, Sports Media with Richard Deitch, The Patrick McAfee Show. See, I wouldn't remember all of these if I didn't look it up. Men in Blazers, big fan. 32 Thoughts. Is that enough? There was a podcast that I used to love called The Lead with Stephen Brunt, who's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, and Jeff Blair, and they got rid of it, and I was really bummed about that. Oh, Shout, Buffalo Bills podcast. Okay, I think that's enough. Those are some that I like to listen to. Also, I listen to a lot of Howard Stern on Sirius on demand. Hello, Ariel. DC mentioned you writing scripts for his post-fight press conferences. Now, I know you can neither confirm nor deny, but knowing Nosebleed Nariz, something tells me DC wasn't the only fighter. What other fighters, post-fight press conferences, could you have allegedly, potentially, metaphorically influenced? You think I kiss and tell? Let me tell you something. Some of your favorites, some of the great angles in MMA history have come from this Nariz, but I can't confirm. What about that gift I got from Rey Mysterio? Pulling out the Money in the Bank inspired mask. I mean, I was at a loss for words. I was speechless. Okay, just two left here. Bakri, salut de Montréal. Bonjour. Firstly, I hope you enjoyed your time in Montreal last week. I work right next to Notre Boeuf de Grasse, and I must say the food is great there. Yes, it is tremendous. It would be great to have a fan meet up in Montreal. I'm sure you'd get a great turnout. I wonder. I don't know if I'm as popular in Montreal as maybe some other spots, but maybe I'm wrong. My question. I used to always think that I wanted at least 3 kids, if not more. I love the idea of a big family. However, my wife and I currently have a beautiful 9-month-old daughter who we love with all our heart. Now, the more time I spend with my daughter, the more convinced I get that I don't want another kid. Excuse me. I can't imagine having to put less time into my daughter to take care of another child. I don't find that fair for her. I also saw what my wife had to go through and don't want her to ever have to do that again. I'm also just turning 24 in July, so I know my opinion might change in the future. So my question is, when you had your first kid, did you at any point go through the same thought process? And how/at what point in their life did you decide you wanted another child? Merci. What a great question from Bakri. I'll tell you this. I never felt that way. In fact, when I had my first child, I said I couldn't wait for them to have a brother or sister. And I will almost, now you say that your wife had a tough time. Every woman does. They are superheroes. I mean, we as men will never go through anything close to what they go through. Not only on the day that they deliver the child, but the 9 months leading up to it and everything else that they have to go through. I mean, it's incredible. Pales in comparison to anything that we have to go through. Now, unless it was, life-altering or life-changing, I would say at 24, I predict at some point, you got plenty of time, you're going to change your mind. The greatest gift that you can give to your daughter is a sibling, someone to play with. Trust me, I'm seeing it right now. No better time than now for me to answer this question. My 5-year-old daughter is bored at home. She's bored. Now we're trying our best, and there's things for her to do, but I don't think she's ever experienced the phenomenon known as boredom, because she's had 2 older brothers, 8 and 10. So one is 3 years older and the other one is 4.5 years older. She's never experienced that because there's constant activity, things going on, craziness, chaos. It's just amazing. And to see how much she misses them is kind of special, but you don't want that. So, I can't imagine if she was an only child. Not that there's anything wrong with it. There's reasons for it, and I totally get it. But if it's up to you, trust me, you're going to give her as much love, if not more. She's going to get love from different places. If the reason why you don't want another child is because you think that your child won't get 100% of your attention or love, that's not going to be the case. You don't even realize. It's the same way we don't realize what happens when we become parents. When you become a husband, when you become a dad, you don't realize how you're able to adapt to multiple kids. Then you go, then you'll bond even more. Like when your new child is coming, you'll bond even more with the older one, because then it's going to be you and her for a little bit as the newborn is getting, settled, and your wife is, because in the early stages, there's not a lot for us to do other than just being a helping hand, right? Especially if there's things like, nursing involved and whatnot. So those early days, you're actually bonding with the older one even more. It's a very nice sentiment. I understand where you were coming from. I never felt it. I wanted my kid, I grew up with 2 older brothers, younger sisters, so I always wanted more if we were lucky enough to have them. But I would urge you, if you truly love your daughter, give her that gift, because being alone can be lonely. And I will say, obviously, we didn't know this was going to happen, but in the early stages of the pandemic, we were so thankful that our kids had someone to play with, and would often think about the kids who were only children who didn't have that. It was huge. Oh my. Last question from the great Troy Farkas. I'm familiar with this man, and I love that Lewis left this one for the last one. As you approach 40 and are finding yourself very reflective now, what is one thing that you wish you would have done differently earlier in your career? Oh, golly. Let us sit back. I wouldn't say that I have a lot of regrets, but there are things that, in retrospect, do I wish I would have zigged when I zagged? Yes. Overall, if it all led me to this exact moment, me sitting here with this sachet and this party hat on July 6th at 4:48 p.m. Eastern time, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more thankful and grateful and pleased with how things turned out. But of course, there are things where you wonder, that movie Sliding Doors. You ever see that movie Sliding Doors, Frank, where Gwyneth Paltrow is about to go on the subway, she misses it, then she makes it, and her life goes in 2 different directions? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about, but I never watched it.
It's a tremendous film, and I highly recommend it. Here I am, once again, recommending another great film to you guys. I will say, I could go back to Syracuse, which was like a big turning point in my life when I went to Syracuse. I wish I took things less seriously. I wish I was less hard on myself. I wish I didn't put so much pressure on myself. When I got to Syracuse, I didn't get into Newhouse right away. And you need a 3.5 GPA to get in. And so I was obsessed with the idea that I had to get in. If not, my whole, plan was a failure and I would never become a broadcaster and all this stuff. So I pretty much locked myself in my room. And guess what? Maybe it was for the best because I got a 3.51. So imagine if I had one friend, I probably would have had a 3 and not made it in. So that's how I justified it. But even once I got in, I just put too much pressure on myself, got way too nervous about things that ultimately didn't really matter, cared too much. And I know that's a weird thing, and that probably helped me and fueled me later on. But when you're 20, it's okay to have a little fun. It's okay to let your hair down. And so you think back, now that I'm about to be 40, like, man, maybe I should have went out here and there and not. But again, that's something where you're like looking back and hindsight is 2020. Maybe there was a reason for all of that. I've always been the type of person who said that when he woke up, when I woke up and was 85, all of a sudden, I didn't want to have any regrets. Hopefully I make it to 85. I just don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to say, I wish I did this and that. I shouldn't have done this, that. Like, I just want to be, and right now, I don't really have that many. Again, I reiterate, no one truly can say, oh, I'm happy with every single decision. That's just not life. There's obviously going to be things that we regret. Once I left Syracuse, I went into TV, and life was pretty great. And, met up with my future wife, and we were living in New York, and that was great. And I'm very happy with my decision. This could have been one of my big regrets. I get to Spike TV in September of 2007 and quit after a week because I just knew and felt in my heart, because again, I was always that guy. I did not want to regret life later on. If I would have stayed and stuck it out, maybe I'm still working in TV and thinking about what life would have been like as an MMA journalist, and if I could have made it and made an impact and been remembered or anything like that. But I took the chance. I started my website, gave myself 6 months. I've told this story before, and that's something that I'm very, very proud of. And as I was building up and going here and there, everything was good. I would say there's one regret that I have as far as my career is concerned, and something that, as Troy puts it here, my dear friend Troy, TST, that I wish I would have done differently. I wish I never would have agreed to the terms of that deal when I got to Fox. That's the number one regret. That's the only thing anyone can ever say. And I've said it, I've revealed it about myself. It's the only skeleton in my closet, but it's not in the closet. It's out there. Everyone knows the story. I get to Fox. They tell me, yeah, cool. When you're doing UFC Tonight, you're getting paid by us. When you do the weigh-ins and the post shows, you got to get paid by them. And I didn't feel comfortable, and I fought it. And I asked Jay Glazer one day what he should do, or what he would suggest I should do. And he said, you got to support your family. This is your only chance to be on TV covering MMA. The money's coming from them. He gave me all these reasons to justify it, and I did it. And every year, because it was a 1-year deal, I tried to change it. And look, you could say now it all worked out, but I do believe that led to the issues that I ended up having. And there's a part of me that wishes, like, maybe I don't do that. Maybe I just do UFC Tonight and I don't do the weigh-in shows. I had some great moments back there, but was it worth all that, heartache, headache, drama, all that stuff? I don't know. I'd rather not have all that stuff happen in my life, and I don't think any of it was justified, if I'm being 100% honest. But, that's what happens when you make certain decisions. But, since leaving Fox and then doing my own thing, and even, going to ESPN, don't regret that. Leaving ESPN, don't regret that. I feel like I'm on a pretty good run of, making the right choices. Of course, there's choices that you have to make, but that would probably be the biggest one. And I was talking about this this weekend as well. Early in my career, I was very afraid of messing up, and I was afraid of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, being perceived the wrong way. Very, very professional. That's why when I go out, like, I've been on the road a gazillion times, and I've seen other people drink, get drunk, act a fool. And I remember telling myself very early on that I never wanted to do that. Like, even in that clip with Nate, I know there's a Modelo in the front and people think that I'm drunk. I'm not. Did I have like half a beer that night? Yes. But I've never been like drunk, stumbling. I just don't want people to see me in that light. That was one thing that I was very, very conscious of. I just did not want people to see me all crazy, sloppy. And it's tough as the career progressive, but it progresses. But I was very, very conscious about that. Now, you can look back and say like, oh, you took it too seriously, this and that. But I was just very, 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 very intense about it, very determined. Now, some people took that intensity as being competitive or, not being a team player, not wanting to hang out. But I didn't get into MMA to make friends. You make friends as a result of the great people that you work with, but I didn't get into the sport because I was looking for people to hang out with and drink with and talk about MMA. No, that's a byproduct of it. And I'm happy that I have friends for life. Someone asked me like, oh, do you want to have a big dinner for your birthday? I'm like, no, I just got to hang out with a bunch of my friends in Las Vegas, and I got to hang out with a bunch of, I'm good. I'm very happy. So I could say, I talk to these people more than I talk to my old friends at this point. Not to say that I like one over the other, but they're just constants in your life and can relate to what you're doing and, what you're experiencing right now. So one thing that I could tell you this, as I go on and on about all of this, as I get into this reflective state, I don't think I get to this point. I don't think I feel the way I feel about my life if I didn't go and talk to a therapist last February, not this February, last February. I think I make a bunch of bad decisions if I didn't do that. I think I make decisions because of other people, in spite of other people, based on what I feared or what I thought was the right move. And so I'm very thankful for that. Now, I don't speak to a therapist anymore because I don't feel like I need it, which is totally okay. Always there if I want it. But I definitely feel like there was a huge cloud hanging over me and I needed help. I needed help in figuring it out. And now I have figured it out. Now there's a chance in 5 years I'll need it, in a year I'll need it, in 3 years, who knows? But I'm probably answering this question in a much different way if I didn't do that, a year and a half ago. So overall, as far as the career is concerned, one massive quote unquote regret. One could argue that even though I did that and regret it, it helped me. But I wish I didn't have that skeleton in there because it's something that I felt very strongly about and learned very early on you should not do. But you live and learn, you win or learn, and you hope to not make those mistakes in the future. And I've been presented with many opportunities that would put me in the same type of predicament, and I've turned them down. Some of them have been pretty great, but I will never make that mistake again. So there's it's you got to learn from those mistakes. And I'm pretty damn happy with how things have gone so far. 39, heading into the big 4-0. This is 40. Here I am. A lot of it has been in front of you guys for the past 12 or so years. Very, very thankful for all of you. Thankful that you're all in my life. Thankful that we are able to meet up almost on a daily basis these days and talk about the great sport of MMA. And very, very thankful for the support because, as I've said many a times, I feel like I work for the fans. And if not for the fans, none of us have jobs. And that's why I said what I said about Izzy at the top. Like, ultimately, I get it. We don't like to be criticized. We don't like to, have people knock us. But if it ain't, the public, if they're not by your side, if the paying public is not supporting you, like, you don't have a lot in any walk of public life. So we have to remember that. Trust me, there are times where the people get quite annoying. Hence, but for the most part, everyone's great, and I'm extremely thankful. I'm at peace in my heart. I really have peace in my heart, peace in my soul. And I'm very excited to see where the next 10 years, hopefully in 10 years, I'm still in all of your lives. Can someone clip this off and play it in 10 years and be like, hey, Ariel, you're still good. Biggest fear of my life is death. I just want to make it to 100. Can I make it to 100? Is that too much to ask for? I just want to be healthy, happy. And I'll end on this note. I used to be someone who would get a little bit sad on his birthday and be like, oh, because I was always in summer camp. I was away from my family. I was away from friends. You're a kid who has his birthday during school. You're like, it's not the same. And over time, over the years, I've had a much different view of my birthday. It's completely different. Like, you're just thankful, happy. And as I told you guys, like, I've been working out with a trainer a little bit, try to be healthier, stronger, etc. And I was with him yesterday, and he asked me if I wanted to meet on Friday. And initially I thought, no, it's my birthday. Well, I don't want to. And then I thought, no, this is the best way to celebrate my birthday because I am healthy. I am physically able to do something like this. This is the number one way to celebrate. And I think that's kind of a shift in the way I view things. So I would say to you, if you are healthy, if you are surrounded by loved ones, if you have a good job, if you have, family members who are healthy around you, you're rich. You are successful. It's like the great Bob Marley once said, Frank. You know what he said? Possessions make you rich.
I was going to say, don't worry.
My richness is life, he said. It's not possessions. Possessions don't make you rich. Richness is life. So if your life is rich with love, with health, with happiness, you are the richest man on the planet. And I feel, my friends, right now, like the richest man on the planet.